Okay, I'm coming. Hi, guys. I tell you one thing, I really do like stocks. To me, they are the quintessential flavor of any cuisine. Any cuisine. Your mom's gonna make a nice denchon jjigae. She's gonna start with a very nice kumul, right? Dashima, melchi, mu. Maybe sometimes seiwu sometimes, a little dry seiwu. I guess every family does it a little different. But the key point is that, thank you very much. Salud. The key point is to have a good stock. A good stock makes a good sauce. A good sauce makes a good meal. And it's, once again, very important. I'm going to take this off too. I tell you, when's this weather going to change? If it's not raining, it's scorching hot. That's for sure. Excuse me. To the air conditioning. Air conditioning's, making me clogged too. If you don't have a good stock, good dashima kumul, you're not going to have a good jjigae. And it's the same thing here with. Now, Korean sauces are interesting. The aspect, the difference between Western sauces and Korean sauces, that, as far as I know, once again, I could be wrong, you really don't have any hot sauces in Korea. Not hot, spicy hot, but hot, physically hot. I'm not saying they're like mayonnaise, but they're served room temperature. Gochujang, doenjang, toejang. They all seem to be served room temperature, unless it's a jjigae. That's a little different. We're not really talking about that at all. Where is it over here? Camera's backwards. I'm sorry, I'm very hot. Better. Get my phone out of my pocket. I tell you, it's not easy. But most of your sauces, as far as I can figure out, are served room temperature or cold. The soy sauce with a little wasabi for dipping. Sauces are not necessarily a big part of Korean cuisine. Now, certain sauces belong almost in everything. Anything that has like gochujang, you put it in anything and you guys are going to love it, whatever it is. You mix it with any kind of vegetable or anything like that. We have a little more variety in sauces, and once again, the grand sauces. Now, in the videos, we talked to the grand sauce, demi-glace, hollandaise, velouté, bechamel, and tomato sauce. Out of all those, demi-glace, velouté are really the most common, I would think, at least. So my experience, my personal and professional experience in the field, those are two of the most important. Well, velouté can be thinned out to be a soup base. Now, you can use bechamel for soup, but once again, a velouté to me, the meat flavor is very important. So that has a little more punch to it. So that's what's very important there. But bechamel is great, especially like pureed soups. If you do like a pureed pumpkin or pureed tomato, almost any vegetable, and you could go vegetarian. Some vegans don't eat butter; they don't eat milk, so that's hard to say. That's interesting. But most of my experience working with stocks, velouté and demi-glace or brown sauces are the key players. That's for sure. As I said in the video too, hollandaise. I haven't made a hollandaise in years, and professionally they stopped it in the United States quite a few years ago. Maybe in the early 90s, late 80s. They stopped making it illegal to have hollandaise because of uncooked eggs. So, I mean, we can make hollandaise, but I don't know if it's worth the money. You're probably not going to do it. Mayonnaise, yeah, we could do. Mayonnaise, fresh mayonnaise is very nice. Fresh mayonnaise is very, very different. Now, some of you guys might have asked why mayonnaise is not part of the ground sauces, and it can be. In this class, or in my thing, we talk about hot sauces. Cold sauces are a little different because oil and vinegar itself, this basic salad dressing, is a sauce. Mayonnaise is a sauce, and from mayonnaise there's many other sauces that could be derived from it. Mayonnaise is a mother sauce, and some chefs or some cookbooks will put that in there as 6 other sauces. So they're not right or wrong, and I'm not right or wrong. I just consider it's being a cold sauce. It's on its own. I teach that more in Garde Manger when we do pâtés and terrines. The French cooking class too. We'll probably make a mayonnaise in it, and a fresh mayonnaise tastes very, very different than a Otugi bottled. And a lot of you guys won't like it because of the eggy oiliness of it, because it's egg yolks and oil. Little lemon juice, salt and pepper. I mean, it's a fairly easy thing, but making the emulsion is a little tricky. Not impossible. Not impossible. You guys could do it. So maybe if we have time, we'll make some mayonnaise here, because that's a good thing to make. As opposed to a hollandaise, I'd rather have you make a mayonnaise than a hollandaise. So, what else in the video? I put my papers. Somewhere I put my papers. There they are. I just made some notes about what we talked about in there. You know, sauce itself is a food. There's a lot of protein, a lot of calories, a tremendous amount of calories at hollandaise. But in all sauces, there's a lot of calories. So it's a food sauce. It's a sauce of food. And if you're going to be, as a lot of places are doing now, are putting calorie counters on their menus, either by law or by just as a good idea. Personally, I don't think it's a good idea. Fast food, yeah. If somebody's eating at McDonald's, they should know it's 1,500 calories in the hamburger they're eating. That's for sure. But if you're doing fine dining and you go out once every 6 months and you're going to spend pal manin on an entree, do you really worry about the calories at that point? Not that much. You're not going to be eating that much that way. Pal manin sound expensive, but not really. If you go to a hotel, it'd be twice that. I'm talking like a little bistro in like say in the Insadong area, something like that. You'll get that price, and you get good quality. Actually, the little bistros in Seoul are taking off quite well. They're one owner, 2 friends, and a hostess, and they do quite well. They're doing quite well right now. With the virus and things obviously are much slower than it could be, but hopefully by the time we're watching this, 6 months or so, this should hopefully fade away. I hope so, at least. The 5 grand sauces. Once again, brown sauce, what you guys call brown sauce, is really truly Espanol sauce. That's the classical name for it. And demi-glace itself is not really a sauce. It's the beginning of a sauce. And you guys always said demi-glace sauce. But you say demi-glace mushroom sauce, or sauce Robert, or sauce piquante, or sauce. It's all demi-glace based. So, pincé was once again when I'm browning the bones, I put some tomato paste on the bones, and you lightly brown that. That adds a lot of color to it. Once again, you almost charcoal it in a way. You get it pretty dark. You don't want to burn it per se, because it's a little burn is not bad, because that gives it a. I know you guys cancer and thing. In that small amount, that type of thing, you probably get more cancer from sitting in a bus than eating a demi-glace that has charred tomatoes. And charring is like barbecue. It adds a smokiness to it, which is really, really important. Back to the 5 grand demi-glace, velouté, bechamel, tomato, and hollandaise. Like I said, I'd really like to get to the tomato. The 7.5 weeks. This is good in some ways for stock production, because we have a lot of stock cooking per se, but because it does take a while. Obviously, what you saw in the video was cut, and we're done, yay! But there's a lot of downtime. Downtime meaning between steps. When obviously you're in the kitchen, you have something to do. You tourne vegetables, you clean garlic, you peel thyme. You got something to do. In class, we don't really have a lot to do in the downtime, so we'll go in and lecture and things like that. We'll start a stock, go in and lecture, come back, add the mirepoix, go back, do that thing. As I said in the video too, is a lot of students do ask, why don't you just say add the bones and the mirepoix together, and you end up with mush. The carrots disappear. They end up making an orange sauce. Now, if you're making a demi-glace sauce, that wouldn't be a bad color, that's for sure. But are you making a white sauce? Nah, they don't work. You just want the essence, the flavor of the vegetables. And plus, you want a certain amount of freshness. You know, young pa itself is sweet in its own right, and more you cook it, sweeter it gets. And you really don't want a sweet sauce, so it's important to stick with the timing when you start your stock or when you finish your stock. You know, if you feel 15 minutes over, 15 minutes under, that's not going to make that much of a difference. But once again, you don't want to cook a beef stock for 3 hours and say it's done. Why? Because, well, if you did your homework, I'll check on your homework. Your homework was to look and get 8 kilos of bones and give me a price. Okay? So you're going to see why you want to cook the full time on there. Brown sauce is said there. What else? Other sauce. What else are we talking about? A la minute, which is one against my favorite cooking styles. I do a la minute at home all the time, and I guess you guys, if you took the French cooking, we did a la minute. It's not a sauce per se, but it does produce a sauce. Once again, I'd like to do that in this class. I don't know how many of you guys took the French. If you guys took the French, then we're golden. You know what I mean? You know what I'm talking about. If you didn't take the French cooking, then a la minute doesn't make any sense to you at all. Give me some feedback. Even if we did it once in French class, we can do it again. It takes a while to get used to it. Aromats, once again, aromats, aroma. Things that really give the sauce, the stock makes it a sauce, or the aromats. And that's the garnish of it. You know, the garnish is the sliced mushrooms, the whole thyme, the tarragon, the anything else you're going to add to it. Even if you have like a seiwu sauce, a white seiwu sauce, either bechamel or velouté, you can do that. The seiwu, the shrimp itself, is a garnish. Chopped parsley could be a garnish in a sauce, that's for sure. Which is a good flavor. Once again, a lot of people think parsley is like kind of thing you just stick on the side of the plate and oh, that's done. No, it's very important for Western flavor, that's for sure. I talked a little about cookware. You know, in class we have non-stick ware, and it's really bad to saute. Not bad. It's not so good to saute with non-stick cookware. It doesn't give the color. It doesn't give the crispiness. It more steams than cooks. And we got some new pans, and they're a little heavier. That might be better because sometimes you get these really what we call flimsy, very thin pans. So you put a piece of meat in there, it goes, you know, it goes down and then up. But if you have a good pan, you throw it in, and it maintains a good cooking level. Once again, if you saw the French one, I have a cast iron pan I use at home, stainless steel at home. Teflon, the coating on there, comes off, and you know, you kind of have a tendency to eat a lot of that throughout your lifetime. You have 1 or 2 pans. Ask your mother how long before she gets her pans. Let me get that. Okay, no, never mind. No, put it down. I had an ugly pan I wanted to show you, but I forgot about it. They scrape off, I think you know. And ask your mother how often she buys a pan. I bet she's going to say like once a year. That's for sure. And in class 2, we talked about, I don't know if we talked about it in here, but fry pans are fairly new to Korea. I mean, they really are. Your grandmother didn't have one. They only came in the 1950s after the war, that fry pans. And so sauteing is a fairly new thing. Now, saute is different than stir fry, the Chinese style. First of all, using the wok is a different shape, different cuts, because obviously everything Chinese is cut very small, cooked very quickly. Now, saute is really focusing on meat items, where in Chinese cooking it's meat and vegetables always together. Where in Western cooking, we kind of separate those things. And once again, with a la minute, you cook your meat and you make the sauce and put it in. Then another pan, you cook the vegetables and you add it. With Chinese all together. So there is a lot of differences. And with Korean cooking too, is that usually it's one banchan, you make it, done. This next side dish, banchan, make it, put it, done. You don't carry on A, B, C, and build it together. It's make one, put it aside, make 2, put it aside, make 3, put it aside. That's what my take on Korean cooking is. There's no really blending per se. And it's a side dish culture too, so it's a little different that way. Talked a little about salsas, right? Salsa means sauce in Spanish, that's all it means. Salsa roja is the one that you're most familiar with. If you get up to Itaewon, there's quite a few good taco places, independent taco places. Not Taco Bell. Not Taco Bell's that bad. I'll be honest with you, it's that bad. But there's some better places there. Mexican cuisine is something I really haven't figured out why it hasn't become popular here. Well, it's meat-based, tomatoes, garlic, onions, chili. Yeah, I don't know. It has everything I think a Korean would like, but it doesn't get that popular. Think about that. You got an idea? Tell me. Tell me what you don't like about it. It's wet. You know, it's soft. Don't know. Now, I made nachos in class and stuff. I've had some like international cooking classes, and we've done nachos and burritos and things. And in class, you guys eat it more than classical French. A lot of times, classical French, you make a plate, you show me, I taste it, look at it, and into the garbage. You got go ahead and taste it. And it might be Yulki hot dog. I mean, I can understand that because of the amount of butter and fat that's in it. But you should try and taste everything. And when another key point too in the video is and when you're making stocks, taste it 1 hour, 2 hour, 3 hour. Add the mirepoix, taste it that way. Taste it step by step. You do that, then you're gonna understand how it develops. Plus, if something goes wrong, you're gonna know where it went wrong, what happened at that point. And a lot of times things, I mean, you gotta be careful in the kitchen, but sometimes it's like pong pong, things like that, this stuff is around, and if this ends up in your food, it's a nightmare. So once again, it's not a bad idea to keep a close eye on your stock. You don't have to worry about it here, but you know, once again, you're working in a real kitchen. Things happen. So right or wrong or whatever, it happens. Salsas, gravies, we talked about it in the beginning. Gravies, and I love a gravy. I love a good gravy, that's for sure. Let's see what else we talked about. We did talk about a lot. Excuse me. Air conditioner is killing me. Black beans, Korean cuisine, doenjang, gochujang, soy sauce. Yeah, and well, the sewujut, mochi jut. Is that considered a sauce? Or is that like a stock? Because once again, in Western cooking, we really don't have mochi jut. Now, ancient Rome did. We had fermented fish sauce. It's kind of interesting. We did have a very much similar fermented fish sauce in ancient Rome. And they would take anchovies and layer it on wood, salt, anchovy, salt, layer wood, salt, anchovy, salt, layer wood, perforated wood, wood like this. And they'd press it down and let it ferment and then let it drip out. So it's a little different, I think. Korean, you mix everything together and you close it tight. The Romans made theirs out in the sun. So, if any Korean cooking mages out there, any of you guys are Korean cooking mages that are specializing in things like sewujut and mochi jut, let's talk. I'll try to find some more material on the Roman style, because it's interesting how the two are very. I never tasted the Roman one. I never made it. That'd be interesting to make up on the roof here in Bidong. We've got a nice sunny roof, windy there. But all the recipes I've seen was basically salted anchovies, head and guts removed. I think in Korean you do the whole thing. Single layer, lots of salt, and kind of pressed on its own weight, and then dripped down on the bottom, and that's the finished sauce, I assume. Aging, I'm not sure. Now, I've seen sewujut made in Korea in big barrels in caves, which sounds really cool. It's out in the Mukpo area. I saw it on television. That sounds really good. And I do like those two, sewujut and mochi jut. They're very, very uniquely Korean. Now, Thai, of course, they have nukmam, which is which might be more like the Roman ones, because Thailand's a little warmer. Thailand and Italy have similar climates. Korea, you have that really, it used to have, global warming, you used to have really crisp, cold winters, and that's really important for making traditional food. Like if you're making meiju and things like that, you're going to need that cold, brisk air and things like that. And Cheonggukjeong needs a nice warm room, but not out. It's a winter item. You do it make it inside a like a burondo place. It gives it a much nicer flavor. The monk who taught me how to make almost all the Korean food, he had burondo, and so the kamasots and all that. But one thing you miss at that, what you don't miss with his style, is the wood smoke. When you're cooking things on a kamasot with a wood fire, you get a certain amount of ash and smell into that. And he has his meiju hanging outside the kitchen area where the smoke naturally hits it. Just, it's not intended, it's just the way that it's always been done. And it does add a lot of spark to it. Spark meaning like a complexity to it. Once again, we were talking about a good stock rice, good stew. You're making doenjang, a good meiju, with the right amounts of kampangi and the right handling. And those little residual little things. And this goes true with winemaking. If you took, well, you haven't taken my wine course, but for many years in growing vineyards where they grow grapes for wine, in America they would cut out all the weeds. Weeds are the plants you don't want. And in France, they let it go. They get too tall, they cut them down and things like that, but they don't do that. And it came to the point that, once wine became a science, they realized these little plants add character, add flavor to the grapes. Same thing with making meiju. That smoke adds character. It adds a little more flavor to it. That makes it a little more different. So that's a very important point. We got off pretty far on that, but not really. No, we're still talking about sauces, that's for sure. And once again, to understand Western cooking, you have to understand your cooking. Understand your flavors, your group of flavors, how you make your stuff. Even if you're a Western cooking major, I really want you to focus in on Korean cooking. Because if you understand your cooking, I can understand my cooking. Right? I understand your cooking, so I can teach my cooking. Because then we have a whole different flavor sets, that's for sure. We got, our grouping of flavors are very, very different. You have a more of a sour base, traditional. So I'm going to throw that word traditional in there. Korean cooking traditionally sour and salty. Sweet was never really present in wines except things like shiitake, which is a natural sugar. Sugar hasn't been in Korea for a long time. Sugar availability probably happened in 1945 after the war, and maybe even a little later, because you might even say the Korean War, until the Americans came here with lots of cheap flour, cheap. Even I understood that even like kalguksu is kind of a fairly new item, because flour traditionally was very rare. Only kings in Yanban would have mikro flour for cooking, so noodles were very expensive and different. Rice was more of a staple. So during that war, the 1950s war, after that war and the current American occupation of Korea, Spam, flour, sugar, all this became very cheap and very, very available. A lot of things that you guys didn't accept. Chilmancho, turkey. Why that never became popular here? Those animals, they're big. They're very strong. They can live in cold weather. They don't take a lot of care. They're like chickens. You leave them running around, but they're big chickens. So a lot of things like household cats or anything like that doesn't bother them. Even a dog, because we're talking something like 12 kilos. It's a big bird. So they run around the yard area. It doesn't go very far. That never took off. But you took pumpkin. You love Hobak. What else came here? Peanut butter. Kind of interesting. You guys don't fond of peanut butter. But you grow peanuts and you eat peanuts boiled or dried and roasted. But you don't really eat them as peanut butter. And being an American, I grew up eating a lot of peanut butter. I enjoy peanut butter. It's a nice flavor. We all have our own flavor sets, and once again we talk about that. If you have any questions, please send them in there. After you see this, we're going to meet in class. So bring your uniform, aprons, knives. School, I have to once again talk to the Joe here about breaking you guys down into groups. Because anyway, it's just too many. And I'll probably do groups of 4 in a team. Probably something like that. Each table 4, 8, 12, 16. Yeah, okay. We got 30, we could do 4 teams of 4. That would be very nice. If we have to break it out more, it'd be 3 teams of, it would be 3 in a team. Once again, like I said, this is not my decision. It's school. You guys stay safe, be careful, take care of your family, don't do anything stupid, and I'll see you soon. Okay, bye.